This marked the beginning of my 100 days Palworld with no spheres challenge. Getting started off, I had two things in mind: getting leveled up so that I can unlock better gear for myself, and finding as many eggs as fast as possible. With normal Palworld, you could just grab any regular sphere at spawn and catch land balls, Cativa, Pangolin, or anything you need to help your base. The trick of no spheres is unless you're breeding for a specific pal or buying them from a trader, you have no idea what pal you're about to get. So this makes early on very hard to make a functional base to do things without your help. Day one I spent leveling up and searching for all the eggs around spawn. I would like to act like I'm a super genius, but I did need the help of an interactive map to find a potential of over 900 egg spawns throughout this massive map. I don't know what happened to this little dude, but being the great, helpful person I am, I saved and freed him from this trap. By the end of the first day, I had acquired 4 eggs already, but due to being so tunnel visioned, I forgot about this really complicated concept: clothes. So I had to go back to the base to make some, where I didn't even have enough wool. Poor animal. Much better. Felt like I was about to be on an episode of Naked and Afraid. Then I figured it'd be time to make a little shack to call home. So I spent the night working on constructing said shack, and then slaughtering the local daydream population. After this, I devised a strategy that, since I have no penalty to dying, that I would kill my character and respawn at other respawn points to make traversing the map for eggs easier at the start. And I utilized that to get 2 more eggs. I spent the day making gear and grabbing some more eggs. The great part about all the eggs is that it could be any numerous pal that could help me tremendously. The downside is that I need the egg incubator to even be able to use the eggs, which I need to defeat an alpha pal first, and I have to be at least level 7, which, conveniently enough, the camp has an egg spawn right next to it. I sneak into the base to see my first potential pal, Spark It. I sneak in and free Spark It and run away. Being a pal that is a level 1 in handiwork and transporting in electricity, he was going to be a good team starter, but not much longevity in the base once we get all these eggs hatched. To end day 2, we find another egg and find the Desolate Church, which is a great source of metal to supply our base with. I start off the morning of day 3 finding yet another syndicate camp. We run into the camp using Spark It to distract the syndicates, and we free Bristla to be the second pal to join our team. Day 3 and only 3 more pals until we get a full team. At this rate, we might catch the 30 pals with tutorial by day 30. I travel around a bit to get another fast travel point and look for the Chillet battle, which will be our target for unlocking the ancient technology tree to try to get the egg incubator. We glide our way through Chillet, even though I lost half of my health, but we won't talk about that. But we unlocked the egg incubator, which is the key to this challenge. We get the incubator built and grab all of our eggs with a mass waiting for this moment. We have obtained 19 eggs, now it's time to reap the rewards. With the difficulty of not being able to consecutively catch pals, especially early on, the XP gain is at 2.0 for double XP. Since you can't find eggs as easily as catching any pal you see that you want, and it's on instant hatch for eggs. Even if they're pals we won't utilize, the XP bonus is tremendous to help us level up to progress at a normal rate. This gets us to level 11. I spend the rest of day 4 building up my base now. I finally have pals to work endlessly with no break or happiness. I mean joyfully work with and not for me. I get the base up to level 5 and get food production going and make it partially self-sufficient. At the end of the night, we make the dire house saddle and finally move faster. I spend the rest of the night getting the base going and logging pit and stone pit built, because who doesn't love some rock hard wood? Now the base is finally starting to come together and look semi-functional. I decided to keep trying to level up the base, so I needed to build the Statue of Power, which felt like there wasn't enough religion in my little cult, so I wanted to build a statue to worship Lucari Anubis. That's exactly who it is. And with that, the base is at level 6. I made another poor excuse for a bed for my pal that is basically a wood board that looks like it's wearing a straw hat. We then had to fight off a devastating attack of dire howls and hit blizzards. The best part about no sphere is not even to worry about the catch rate percentage and getting better pal spheres and stupid lift monk effigies all over the map, so you can just sell all the spheres. I then ran around to level up and found some more eggs, and I began dreaming of having a flying mount to get rid of this treacherous climbing to get eggs and travel. We find a scorching egg that we might find 1 or 2 of 100 in this challenge. I find some traveling merchants that I'll have to mark for later so I don't get distracted by a squirrel and forget. Here I buy my first worker pal of the challenge, mostly because he's so damn cute and one of my favorite, and partially because he'd be good around the base to start off. So I head back to the base and hatch up yet another Tombat and Serpent. And we get a cute little Flambell to bring us to 19 out of 131 hatchable pals. We're able to breed or randomly hatch out of an egg every pal except for Blasma, Jetragon, Necromus, Palladius, and Frostallion. Continue to hunt for more eggs as they're my lifeline in this challenge, and continue my quest to be the world's best mountain climber. And climb this for nothing. But I can jump down to one that was only half as high that I could have climbed. We find another camp this time with a Jolthog Christ and decide to avoid enemies and just grab it. This sneaky little bugger blended in so well. We find our way to our good friend, the Black Marketeer, who will be very useful in this. I ran into a pal camp that we meet some new pals, Syndicate Grenadiers. I had a plan, and I don't know if I was persistent or just stupid in getting this pal out of the camp, but the plan worked. I lured the Syndicate out of the base, strategically sacrificing each pal. Just to sneak in and steal a... Sweet. And then I ran away in a sense of accomplishment as everything worked out the way I planned 100%. So, while I was waiting for my pals to revive after a successful plan, I continued to respawn at all the respawn points to make it easier to fill out the map. I then went back and retrieved my pals and gear and hatched my couple eggs. I then had to fight some cute little guys to get their fluids to make myself a hot tub, because that's exactly how it works. Except the cute little guy you're fighting is yourself to get yourself to go to work to get a hot tub, because that's goals. We build our high quality workbench next, and I apologize to anyone with OCD in this video because my base never gets better organizational wise. Tombat and I went over to the Desolate Church to farm some metal for my metal tools finally. We finish up our metal pickaxe and axe, and thankfully get a crossbow. We head back to a camp that we saw before that we couldn't get to, and fight through it to free this adorable little guy. Egg. Egg. Another egg. I killed a ruby that started to break dance. I was pretty jealous of his moves. I go back to base to hatch some more eggs, including getting Wixen and Bushy, which are great for the base, so a great early hatch, and then build the Crusher to level up the base again to level 7. Which, level 8, all we have left is another berry farm, so it'll be simple. So we get the base to level 8 and call it a day. I tried exploring more of Mount Obsidian, but realized it's way too hot, and we'll be back for that. So we came back and hatched some eggs and built the medieval medicine workbench. Day 10 I was really sick of running everywhere, so I went around looking for a flying pal to make it easier. No such luck. I decided to take on my second alpha pal, Gumas. Taking him out got me to level 16 though, so not terrible progress for not being able to spam catch every pal around. Went to the Black Marketeer and found a flyer, but sadly I was broke and couldn't get it, so I had to try to get my money up. We used a blueprint we found earlier to make an uncommon crossbow, which would be nice for a little extra damage. Started the day by farming some metal, and then going out to find some more eggs, and found a free Pal Alliance base, and Jason borned my way into the middle of the camp to free a legendary Chickapee. Hatched some eggs, then ran into this little dude, vibing, living his best life, bathing in the sun. I spent the rest of the day looking for eggs. I started off the day by farming Chillet for some ancient civilization parts and XP. I then went to the small settlement to sell some items and buy some pals, and bought my first 2 Matsurinas and a Chickapee to get farming up and going, since breeding cakes are going to be a huge part of this challenge. Dire Howl. Everything the light touches is a part of our kingdom, until I get a flyer and you're no longer relevant in this story. I find the camp where my pals are slaughtered strategically by grenades, and avenge my fallen but revived comrades. And in the process get my first Mal Christ. We raid a couple camps throughout the night, but morning breaks on day 13 and we find our first land ball. At level 19 we finally get some progress going on the tutorial. Who knows, we might have it done by level 50 at this rate. Getting home we hatch open a couple eggs and hit level 20. I then decide it's time to take on the third alpha pal on my list, Pen King. After pretty smooth sailing, there was a new king in town. Next up was Grintail, which I used Nox and its ability to add dark power to attacks, which is actually super good against neutral type pals. And with the help of Nox, the tail of the 2 pals left, Grintail defeated, and we had now finished 4 out of 43 alpha pals. I spent most of the night farming metal to get the cooler box to keep upgrading the base levels. And then we built the sphere workbench that gets the base to level 10 and allows us to build a second base, so we can get a metal farming base up and running. Decided to put the metal base at the Desolate Church, so it's close by and has a decent amount of metal spawns, and it's a good starting point. Finally built a ranch to start farming things like eggs, milk, and honey for cake to breed pals. Spent the rest of the day establishing the metal base, in addition to throwing up a breeding farm at the second base to have it ready. And by building the wheat farm and the mill, the base is now at level 11. Just like that, weapon workbench, boom, level 12. To start the next day, I tried to take down Azarobe. For some reason, I always had problems in past games fighting Azarobe when I was getting started. I beat Azarobe to make it 5 out of 43 alpha pals defeated. Went out looking for more eggs, but didn't find any while zoned out in La La Land. I hit the Warsect alpha fight, thinking it was a fast travel point, and jumped out of there faster than I could say, oh shit. I stuck in like a ninja and grabbed the mud. Start the day, we hatch a couple eggs and get some new pals, Rayhound and Caperty. I find another black marketeer and buy my first Wraith, which I have never used before. We head back to the base and hatch a couple eggs as we hit level 22. Ended up crafting a hip lantern, so I don't have to be afraid of my own shadow anymore. I decided to take on Zoe and Grisbolt, as it was the first of 5 towers we had to make it through, and the easiest by far. Cruising through Zoe and Grisbolt, we make it out of the first tower with no casualties. And then to finish the day off, we took down King Paka. To start off the day, I decided to fight some alpha pals to accelerate leveling up. So I fought Catrice and took her down, bringing alpha pals defeated to 7, only 36 more to go. Then I decided to go fight Bushy. So far, every pal had been a cakewalk basically. So why wouldn't Bushy be the same? Wrong. He took a fourth of my health with the first hit, and when I basically had all of his health left, he put me to 1 shot and I thought it was over. But using Servant to distract him and shooting him, we narrowly defeated Bushy. I was getting exhausted of not having a flyer, so I decided to unlock and make the Galeclaw pal item, thinking I could ride Galeclaw. And I was so excited thinking, how did I not think of this before? Well, because he's just a glider. So thus the search was still on. To end the night before we head to bed. To end the night before bed, we had to take out the TIU, the Toko Toko implosive unit of Palkata to keep our base safe. Take that, Toko Laden. I was so fed up not having a flyer yet, I spent the morning mass producing nails to sell them to traders to be able to afford buying a flyer, hoping there was a Nightwing in the shop. So I went around to every trader I found so far, ended up buying Patalia, as it's a great pal for the base, and managed to find nothing. At level 23, I gave up. I went back to the base for the night, and randomly, after my 11th common egg. Oh my god. I got it. I got Nightwing. And can finally fly around, which will make grabbing eggs so much easier. The first day with Nightwing, knowing be a great addition to my team for a while with the immense help of flying he brings. Grabbing eggs and exploring the map is so much easier. I got the first fast travel point of the desert, which opened a whole new area to explore in. Nightwing ran out of stamina, so I tried to outsmart the game and switch to climbing, but didn't switch back fast enough and turned into Sam L. Jackson and The Rock in the movie The Other Guys, although there wasn't a bush to aim for. While traveling through the desert, no pals had really aggroed me, except for the most dangerous pal in the game. The bloodthirsty Toko Tokos. ready to avenge their comrades of the Toko Toko implosive unit, and they came ready, absolutely obliterating my only level 14 Nightwing. They left me stranded in the middle of the desert with no mount, heavily out-leveled, with a trigger-happy Robin Quiltera nearby. I trekked through the desert, jumped off a cliff that actually looks like the drop from the other guys, and made my way to the dune shelter, which was thankfully close by. I decided to come back and buy a Robin Quiltera of my own and a brown cherry while simultaneously hitting level 24. I went home and hatched a haul from the first time in the desert, and nothing too astounding. I spent the morning farming more nails to sell and went and bought a Lovander to get my first one. Then I went around the desert, getting to fast travel points since there's not a lot of them there, and grabbed eggs. Of course, I get a Lovander after I just bought my first one because I didn't have one. I worked on expanding the metal base to get the breeding going and add more pails for metal farming. Built another ranch to farm some more eggs, milk, and honey for cake. The first pals I decided to breed with were Cinnamoth and Serpent, which I knew would make a pen king. I decided while the breeding began to go out and look for more eggs. Honestly, a Vanworm would be huge. Just get to move faster than the Nightwing. I found on this challenge, I had found an insane amount of lucky pals, like more than I'd ever seen. I made it to Fisherman's Point, which is great in it that it has an egg spawn at it, and it has a pal merchant that sells fire pals and 2 other merchants. Oh, I just said a Vanworm would be great, and I got the Vanworm. Let's go. And just as I had called earlier in the day, a Vanworm. Not 1, not 2, but 3 back to back to back. Stuff like this had me wondering if certain eggs at certain spawn points were more prone to giving out certain pals, as I hadn't gotten one yet till now, and 3 in a row. I spent the small remainder of the night grabbing some more supplies to make the Vanworm saddle, and then made it in the morning. I then went to Mount Obsidian looking for some large/huge eggs, and learned I still have to up my protection from the elements, as they're no joke. But surprisingly, I didn't have to go far to find a huge dragon egg. I was curious as to what it was. Lo and behold, it was the Yormantide Ignis, an absolute behemoth and the best smelter in the game. This was a huge addition to the team this early on. Made some better armor and headed back out to Mount Obsidian, learned that I still couldn't go further, and began to realize maybe that stupid heat-resistant undershirt did make a difference. Went and bought one, and voila, no boundary anymore. Maybe to go to a volcano I just did a really good Hanes undershirt. I spent the entirety of the night egg hunting on the mountain. All through the night until the morning I grabbed eggs till I had to throw items out because I had so many eggs. Totaling 21 eggs, it was payday for XP. I grabbed my bred Pen King, as I hadn't gotten one yet, and he's crucial in breeding other pals that we'll need. I go and buy a cold resistant undershirt, as apparently they can be helpful. I also buy my first big toys, putting me up to 59 pals so far out of 131. I then with a heavy heart decide to cull the Lamball population. We end up taking on the Mud and Nightwing for a 9th and 10th alpha pals out of 43. To make reparations to the Lamball race, I saved the Lamball, which the Palworld gods thought was deserving a level 27. And I agree. I might have said level 50 for my gracious actions, but I guess 27 will do. In a breeze, we take out Felbat, as well putting us at 3 new alphas down on day 22. Hitting level 26 gets into the fun world of electricity now, requiring another pal at the base to keep things flowing. Finally built better cold resistant armor, and then I went ahead and bought my first Cativa. I had never seen a Denasum Lux in a camp, got my first one to the challenge out of a free Pal Alliance camp. I spent the start of the day egg hunting as usual, but found a huge frozen egg, which is fantastic. And then yet another huge frozen egg. Another one. Heading back to base, we crack open our haul. With new pals in Chillet, Vanworm Christ, Kitsune, Raindrix, Foxicle, Wumpo, Reptyro Christ, Mamorous Christ, and Kingpacker Christ. This puts us at level 28, and that's 70 out of 131 pals that we can obtain. On day 24, we already have over half the pals, but that gets harder the closer you get to finishing the No Sphere pal decks. And 9 out of 43 alpha fights, and 1 of the 5 towers done. Given most of the towers you need to be late level 40s to complete, so we're not that worried about that currently. That Galclaw flew to the moon. The Toko Toko Implosion unit put another hit out on me, and I narrowly survived with my life. We then acquired our own agent on the inside of the Toko Toko Implosion unit. I continue to just go on a run, destroying syndicate camps. Although I get a little carried away and must literally have 1 HP left, it's crazy he could literally get hit with a pebble and go down. Now we take out Quiver and hit double-digit alpha pals down. Just to keep piling them up, I took on Brown Chariot, which Vanworm got a little beat up, so we put a Rayhound in to finish it up. The next breeding pair we use is Pyron and Grintail to get Blaze Howl. To get more pals working it up in the base, I look to build the fluffy pal beds, and then we breed Penking and Ectodeer to breed Masanda. We get our fluffy pal beds built, and now we get the base to level 13. Big goal is to get the base leveled up to get the 3rd base location unlocked. Surprisingly forgot about the sweep of Alpha Pals, so we go back and throw a bag of feathers at him to defeat him. We find the Scorching Mine and go in hoping to find a Black Marketeer, then I quickly realize it's a Blasma Den, and quickly nope, out of there. So I head back to get my newly bred Blaze Howl and Masanda, which oddly Masanda isn't done. Guess it was a little glitched, cause it bred quickly when I came back. Masanda is huge and breeding a lot of endgame pals, and is just a good pal to have, especially with his grenade launcher. I go back to Mount Obsidian and just snag some more eggs. Next breeding pair is Masanda and Reptyro Chris to get Elizabeth, and now that I have pal space in the base, I build my primary breeding farm. And then Rayhound and Nightwing to make Anubis, and I get the chefs back in the kitchen to keep mass producing cakes. Back to the egg grab. Random nook that there's a huge dragon egg in. We love it. I tried to start off by breeding pals crucial to breeding endgame pals, so it'd be easier to get those done. Get back to the base to see the breeding's glitched out again, which becomes a pattern. Anubis is an all-around amazing pal since he's one of the best in the game. He's the best handiwork pal and is efficient in multiple other fields. Sadly, every Anubis I bred in the beginning was a slacker, meaning they were terrible for working in the bases. To start today, I finally hatched my Elizabeth, which is a good base pal, and is also needed in the breeding of some other pals. I buy my first Woolly Pop and Incineram Noct, which puts me at 79 out of 131 pals. Decided to farm some XP, quickly realized bad idea. I decide to explore more of the desert to get the last fast travel points and find the Palladius and Necromus fight icon. And then thought, what if Rayhound shocked them so they couldn't attack? No, he decided to do step back 3 and got absolutely obliterated. We hit level 31. Hey. What's so funny there, buddy? We finished breeding and hatching Lylene, who I completely undervalued before the show. Lylene's ability allows a player to be healed for 1000 HP, which is huge in the boss fights where you're stuck for 10 minutes with no way to heal. I made a nice little egg run in the ice biome. Then tried to fight a Hangyu Chris to see how much XP I would get. And he almost gave me the work. Hit level 32, so we're climbing quickly. We got our first Suzaku Aqua, which puts us to 81 pals out of 131. We breed our first Grizzbolt, which is huge since Grizzbolt is also key in some endgame pals, plus I've always wanted to try his minigun. Since I'm leveling my way up to level 38, I decided to breed my next flyer before I get there, so I don't have to wait to begin to breed my Flares. Flares is the fastest pal besides Dragon, who I can't even get in this challenge. And he's also a strong fighting pal, and is also a boss fight pal. I decided the metal workers deserve a little hot to make them feel relaxed in their 16-hour work shifts. Bought my first Killamari, and at this point in the challenge we're still just trying to level up so I can work my way into the power fights. Since I'm going to be using Polaris, basically till endgame when I get Shadowpeak, I tried to breed a really good Polaris, which the goal would be top speed and any other arrangement with either better attack or defense for myself or Polaris. I saw that this Hangyu has the reach of an NBA player apparently with his little arms. I bought my Relaxosaurus, which is the definition of a big clumsy doofus of a pal, so I was glad to add him. Had to go cook some Sparkets to get electric organs for my power generator. Next up, I take on Elizabeth, where I learned Toko Toko Implosive Unit hired some mercenaries from outside the organization and hired some B-guards to attempt to take me out. Once we avoid the hitmen, we take out Elizabeth, which gets me to level 34. I freed this little guy because I feel bad, and I wanted some chicken nuggets. With breeding, we have got our new #1 Flaris with Zen Mind, Stronghold Strategist, Vanguard, and Ferocious. I buy my first Lee's Punk and Veilet. I decide to scope out a great location for the third base for coal and metal. Getting to mid to late game, it gets frustrating needing coal and metal both for reinforced metal, so having a base to farm it makes it so much easier. So I decided my workers deserved a little vacation time, so I built them a hot spring where they don't have to stop working for too long. We begin to breed our Orzerks, and Orzerk is one of the most powerful pals in the game, so he's huge for the addition to the team, especially for the towers at the end. I keep stacking that cake like a bakery to keep that breeding train going. We get our weapon assembly line built, so with that and the hot spring done, which gets our base to level 15, which means we maxed out the pals we can get at a base, and we unlock the third base location. So then I spent the day building the new base. While in construction, we leave for a second to come back and find an invading Gura trying to claim our land. By the next day, we have the new base in full swing and running. Just need to whittle out the slacker and Nubuses. My brain finally clicked on and I realized I should boost the mining and cooking aspects of the mining bases. And I put them on the third base. So I traveled to the wildlife sanctuary to collect the pretty flowers to improve transportation. I was unaware they updated the PIDF officers to see you trespassing one on the back of the mountain now. But I needed those flowers. So I got what I thought was enough and left. I get back and plan to use my base pals to demolish the officers. Chickapee valiantly sacrifices himself in the meantime. And we take out the first officer. Just to see him respawn. To me, it's honestly one of the dumbest systems in the game, that there's no way to evade them or lose them, and I just let myself die to get rid of them. Then we get the flower bed built finally to help with the transporting. Decide it's time to finally go fight Alpha Dran. A pesky Robin Quill can't mind its own business, so we have to deal with him first. Taking down Alpha Dran puts us at 17 out of 43 Alpha Pals. We buy the fiery little ankle biter Gobfin Ignis. Go on another little egg run to Mount Obsidian. Ran into someone a little bit earlier than I would have liked to. At this point in the challenge, there's a lot of repetitive eggs. And if there's something I've already maxed out, I'm not going to show hatching them to you to save you from going crazy like I did. I feel like Marlin in Finding Nemo when he's trying to get all the eggs to make sure they don't get eaten. Kelpsie Ignis. Kelpsie Ignis, my boy. Kelpsie Ignis. Kelpsie Ignis. Another Kelpsie Ignis. Another Kelpsie Ignis. I head over to the metal base and switch out some of the slackers with our newly acquired Reptyros. Then I decide it's time to play Warsect, who I think is a really cool character model. And we squash the bug with ease. Yet again, we show how humble we are and save a member of the Toko Implosive unit, even though the slights they have had against us, and we are awarded with our level 36. Time to sell all of our little accident happy surprise pals, as parents would say. We then take on Relaxosaurus Lux, who just looks like a big doofus with his nice little mohawk. On my way down to the black market trader, I spot something out of place. You don't belong on there. You do not belong on there either. There's a level 29 dungeon right there, so I decided to try it out since I've never tried some higher level things to see if I could get something worth it. And just a thermal undershirt and some sapphires. I then installed some safety walls for the pals since I hadn't given them their life alert buttons yet for when they fall. I was very scared when the Brothers of the Eternal Pyre attacked. The big fat snore mammarist fell asleep blocking the path. I didn't have a flute, so I used a nightmare ball to wake it up. One of the biggest frustrations is getting pals to keep doing a task I want them to do. Suzuku's Aqua's only function, to water. Yet he doesn't keep watering what I tell him to. We built our production assembly line to make things a little easier. Except all my handiness pals enjoy doing everything but. I sell even more happy accidents as I begin to run out of room in my pal box. At this point, breaking into the syndicate camps was just rinse and repeat, just trying to get as many pals captured as possible. We decided to take on Masanda Lux, and I love Masanda's character model, but I love Masanda Lux's even more. We took on Masanda Lux, who apparently is as light as a feather and has his own realm of zero gravity. And then faced Lunaris, who I think looks suspiciously like a certain psychic legendary detective Electric Mouse had been chasing down. And after we take down Lunaris, we decide to go take out Univolt as well, as he's pretty close by, so it's pretty easy to get to him. And to finish the trifecta of the night, we take out Univolt to put us at 22 out of 43 Alpha Pals. I buy my first War Sect and Incineram, bringing us to 99 out of 131 Pals. Next we take on Verdash, and I love that his ability lets you add grass damage to moves, so I think he's a pretty useful pal. And then after taking out Verdash, I was craving a Popeye spicy chicken sandwich. After picking everything up, my pals fail to transport. I get refined ingots, going for my refined armor, finally getting an upgrade. I breed my first Helzifer, who I thought was one of the coolest pals starting off. And we decided to take on Beacon, which thankfully with Beacon being an electric type bird, and having Phalaris, who is a fire type bird, thank God that there was no ice type bird. That might be a little suspicious. I finally get Flak, which was one of the beginning pals in the game that you could get right when they're like level 2 or level 3, which shows you how hard it is to get some of these pals doing the No Sphere challenge. Figured it was time to piss off the neighbor finally. Hitting level 38 means I finally get the flare saddle. So I crafted that and it means thank you for your service, Van Worm. You survived longer than Nightwing on the team. We continue playing Cake Baking Simulator and breeding. Next up to breed was Yormintide, familiar large dragon pal with water moves. The newest farming simulator is farming Dopiosauruses to get high quality pal oil. At this point I kind of forgot Fengalope was here because I hadn't found his icon on the map yet, but I knew he was a boss, so when I was flying around I accidentally bumped into him and decided it was finally time to take him out. Then after finally fighting Fengalope, we go and take on Broncherry Aqua. Down goes Broncherry Aqua too. We finally hatch our first Quiverin, putting us at 103 out of 131 pals. After defending the metal base from an attack, I spotted something weird. Back to farming more Relaxosauruses. Finishing the polymer, and we finally start to assemble our first big boy weapon in the pump action shotgun. Hoping all the souls of the Relaxosaurus population rest well in the building of this shoddy. We decided it was finally time to take on Violet. And unknowingly, it was kind of keeping flares in check while I was melting him, and he almost died. But then we clean up with Lunars. Next up, after taking on Violet, we face Wumpo Baton, who just looks like a farmer boy trying to live his life. Wumpo Baton goes down. And finally the pump shotgun is done. We buy our first Alpha Drain, which puts us at 104 pals out of 131. We go on yet another egg spree at Mount Obsidian. I finally built my refined metal armor after being easily distracted like a dog. Selling even more pals for space. Taking on Siblix was a nice test for the shoddy, and I love it. Hope to get a better version, but this is great, and we take down Sibilix. We take on Lily and Lilene, who's basically the only mid-tier boss fight of this challenge, as Grisbolt and Zoe are really low in health. Lily and Lilene is about 70,000 health, and the rest are 100k in plus. We have a pretty good start to the battle. In the first minute, Lilien's already down 20,000 health, so we're at a good pace already. And 3 minutes into the fight, Lilene only has 15,000 health, so we're getting through this a lot faster than I thought we would. And just like that, in a little under 4.5 minutes, we take Lily and Lylene down, which means 2 towers and 3 more to go. I get a blueprint for a rare crossbow, so I build that to up my damage output as well. I prefer to save ammo for my guns unless I have to use them, since I don't want to deal with making tons of ammo if I don't have to. We hit level 40, so we're on our way to the level 50 goal and recommended level for the final battle. I go on yet another snow biome egg run, still hoping to get cryolinks so I can make the breeding a lot easier for the endgame pals. God, I swear to God, please. Please. Yes. We finally get our first cryolinks, which is what I've been waiting for forever. Cryolinks is the last piece we need to get the bulk of the pals bred, so it'd make a big difference in breeding. So we go on our daily trip to the merchants to see if anything is worth buying, and we find our first Gopfin. T-Fan was yet another early game pal that usually you can max out catching super early on that I just caught my first one now. Level 41. I head to the trader for some cheap XP. I thought I already had Fellbat, so I almost didn't buy it. My current goals are to level up some more so I can unlock the assault rifle and the rocket launcher, as they have really good damage output for the bosses and the alpha pals. I decided to go around like a vacuum since my pals don't like to transport everything apparently. I guess our black marketeer must have had PTO saved up because he took the day off. Decided to go farm some sulfur for some gunpowder for ammo, as we would need a lot of it. And some familiar looking normal type pals for wool for new refined armor as well. I just now realized that I don't have the production line flipped, so it makes sense why they might not work on it, because they don't like to walk around. I make some heat-resistant refined metal armor with the help of my pals. I might as well spend money on pals that I'm less likely to find, so it's smart XP, especially for so cheap. Level 42 as we continue to grind our way to Victor and Shadowbeak. The real world had a meteor to make dinosaurs extinct. In Palworld, it's just me making them extinct trying to make polymer at mass levels. A lot of Relaxosauruses were sacrificed for this minigun, so I hope it's worth it. He's rolling. You're like playing NASCAR, rolling all the way around. I buy one of the hardest pals to catch in the game, Land Ball. I basically spend the time running around trying to level up to the assault rifle, so I take on any alpha pal that I can. How did that even happen? We breed our first Astagon, which is a really cool design model for a pal and the best miner in the game. We breed our first Mamorist, which with how prevalent it is in the spawn areas, I'd hope it'd have so much more use for him, but I currently feel like it's just hard to justify removing any of the starters that I have. I think it's time to finally take on Yormintide. I quickly learn he hits hard. I use Vortex attack to push back Yormintide and give us space so I have time to react to his attacks. He almost completely obliterates me with one move right here. And then Yormintide on Yormintide action, which just sounds like a battle in Vikings. That was nerve-wracking. Definitely should have leveled up a bit more before fighting to make it easier, but narrowly made it out. Oh. Breeding continues to be frustratingly stagnant as the pals will just stop breeding and glitch out for hours of gameplay wasting time. Hitting level 43 as we keep the XP flow going. I tried to sell to the merchant in our base, but he went for a hike and I guess is too tired after climbing and doesn't want to be a merchant anymore. We take out Menacing, which Verdash is phenomenal for with the grass damage boost. This battle surprisingly felt like a cakewalk when I felt like looking at Menacing and it was very menacing. So I figured it'd be a lot harder of a fight to get through, but we kind of like waltzed through it. I then decided to fight the other Yormantide and had a really weird thing happen to me. Team Rocket attacks and we send them blasting off again. And I finally breed Shadowbeak, an absolute god in the realm of Palworld. As reward for defeating Team Rocket, I make my Yormantide a saddle. I decided to take on Suzaku for the first time. Suzaku almost cooks me, but we stay crispy, but not fried, and make it through. I finally complete the tutorial at level 44, which feels like that should be some type of world record for being the fastest time to complete the tutorial ever. We had to hit the mines for quartz for our circuit boards to make the production assembly line too. And with that, we get our production assembly line level 2 built. I might not be a scientist to understand this, but that looks like that shouldn't be possible. We hatch our first Catris, which puts us at 114 bells. Start the day by farming some eggs and alpha pels for XP, and I hit level 45. We find a legendary refined metal helm schematic, which I'm so oblivious I don't even know I have it yet. Level 45 means we finally have the assault rifle. After hatching all my eggs, I finally see it. The cost is over 6 times the normal one, so I just hope it's worth it. Somehow Chickapee forgets his sole purpose for existing, is supplying me with eggs for my cakes. It's finally time to take on Anubis, one of the most dangerous looking pals, and I feel like the second of the incredibly hard pals to fight. In literally 10 seconds, Jormuntide is basically dead already. Not a great start. Relaxosaurus practically got one shot, but then the Toko Toko implosion unit strikes again at the most inopportune time. Anubis bodies Jormuntide and he actually goes down. Toko Toko implosion unit continues to grief me out of spite for how I have thwarted their efforts. Anubis almost connects a second hit to KO me. Finally, we get the best of Anubis using a little buckshot when he was being cocky, taunting me. The Toko Toko implosion unit tried to sneak attack me during my moment of joy. That Anubis is done. Go on a little run to get some more eggs and some coal. Breeding our first Hazarobe gets us 116, so only 15 pals left. And we continue to cull Relaxosaurus to get polymer for the assault rifle. Wait, you're telling me my pal that his breeding has a minor injury? He's clapping cheeks too hard. I walked back to the base in a very uncomfortable situation. Finally build the assault rifle to see what it's all about.
Five years later.
Building the refined legendary helm. The refined metal helm gives us 60 more points of defense and 150 extra points of health. Which hopefully the Pal Metal gear isn't as good, so it was worth all the time and resources. Which, speaking of Pal Metal gear, we just unlocked it at level 46. I didn't think about the fact that the electric furnace needs a power generator. Which the Pal Metal helm has 10 less defense and 50 less health, so it's still slightly better. I'm impatient and thought I hit the button to open the menu and accidentally shot him, but then I wondered, what if I kill him?
Didn't mean to. That was an accident.
But he's a big boy. So I left before I made more mistakes.
Damn, he's being creepy. I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry. It was an accident.
Started to bulk up on some ammo for the future plans. I've never used ice grenades, so I wondered how much they might help in the boss fights. Yo necesito más gunpowder for ammo. There's never enough. If I buy Toko Toko, they can't recruit him to the Toko Toko implosion unit to fight against me. Time to face Axel and Orzik.
Well, he just looks intimidating.
Starting with a base health of 130,000, they were already almost double of what Lily and Lilian's health was. And I felt like I didn't have just as many pals that were able to counter, just like we were when we had Lily and Lilian. So I think it'll be a hard fight, but I think we'll be able to get through it. Thankfully for this fight, Anubis is phenomenal against Axel and Orzik due to the fact that his moves give ground type boosts. And on top of that, the shotgun hits critical hits for like every single pellet that gets shot at him, basically. So the damage just racked up easily. In this battle, a lot of Orthric's moves were easily dodgeable, so I felt like we never really had like a close call in combat that we were worried about him. After just 5 minutes, I managed to take them out, which puts me at 2 more boss fights left. I take on Denesum Lux, which was a lot easier than I expected for being the level 47 alpha that it is. Just like me, Orzhok realizes the grind don't stop, so I have to force him to take a break. Built Relaxosaurus' missile launcher, because what sounds cooler than a dinosaur with a rocket launcher? I hit level 47, which we finally get Shadowbeak's saddle, Asagon saddle, and a weapon assembly line too. Only 3 more levels till level 50. But unbeknownst to me, levels 47 to 50 required 5 million XP. Which combined is literally the same amount of XP it took to get from levels 1 to 46. So it was going to be a grind. I start to teach Shadowbeak a bunch of different moves since he's like a jack of all trades that he can learn like every type and is super powerful already. We finally breed our own Menacing, so we're at 117 pounds now. Going into the boss fight, I didn't realize it was night already, so that's why I got cold, but I somehow struggled with the boss that I'd already walked my way through a couple times. So to help my ego, I had to put it back in its place. I've never seen Masanda Lux in a camp before. The wandering merchant got a little hot, so decided to go for a dip. Subscribe to see us skinny dipping in a bonus video. I'd always gone into the volcano area on a fire pal, though I didn't realize if you don't have a fire pal equipped that you get burned from even just flying over lava. And I quickly learned. Astagon is probably one of my favorite pals. Visually, he just looks intimidating, and I love it. Took him down even with my ice pals being weak compared to him though. Checking out the legendary heat resistant refined metal, it is expensive. So I begin grinding out resources for that. I hit level 48. Only 3 million plus more XP to level 50. Still just need some more wool to make that high quality cloth after grinding resources yesterday. After a couple minutes I get impatient and just go buy the wool for the high quality cloth. This will take twice as long as the legendary helm. That literally took forever. The legendary is better than even the pal metal armor, so it becomes my main armor at any time I'm not in the snow. At this point I have 2 decent relaxed sources, so I plan to use one with water attack boost to fight Polaris, and use the other one that is dragon attack boost to fight Shadowbeak, since they would have an advantage to each respectively, plus I'd have the missile launcher to use. Decided it was time to start prepping for Marcus and Polaris, so I started stocking up on ammo. The Toko Implosion unit sent out a scout team, so I took them out so they didn't learn of my plan and try to stop me again like against Anubis. A nice little family of Reptyros went on vacation to the volcano. Little did they know, it would be their last. I cleaned a house and sold a lot of pals. We bred our first Lilian Noct. And then we take on Marcus and Polaris. Quickly realizing that Relaxosaurus is not ideal for boss fights, and the rock launcher is not that good for the time it takes to use. away, I realized Yormantide, Ignis, and Shadowbeak were going to be my best friends in this fight. Both being my hardest hitters and having an up on them. Both being my hardest hitters and Yormantide having an advantage over him with the water attacks are going to be my biggest allies in this fight. This fight made me love using the assault rifle, especially for Polaris. It got a lot of critical hit markers when it came to the assault rifle, so it was putting up great damage. But we started off strong and got really close at the end, and we make it out with about a minute to spare. We took on Blazamut, and honestly I thought he'd be harder to kill, but we coast through him. Taking out Blazamut puts us at 38 out of 43 alpha pals. Decided to test the heat resistance of the armor by running through the fire. Good news, it works. We hit level 49, so we finally get the rocket launcher. But now we need 1.75 million XP for level 50.
Yeah, just make yourself at home, I guess. Does this mean I get better prices if you're gonna chill in my spa?
I realize I've been accidentally making the wrong ammo, and then find the merchant relaxing in the spa. I realized I need a weapon assembly line 2 to make the rocket launcher, so I had to grind to finish that too. Now with it made, I need carbon fiber, and we have it. Finally have the rocket launcher. Now it's time to try fighting Frost Alien. I quickly learned it wouldn't be a fast fight with how little damage it takes from me. I started chipping it down. Pulling out Relaxosaurus and trying to use the rocket launcher didn't last long. Borzerk gets fried but survives. I accidentally throw Yormantide right into the attack. I cut it really close with Shadowbeak's health, but he chipped a huge amount down, so it was worth it. It basically turns into a huge 1v1 for the rest of the fight, with all my pals either dead or Shadowbeak being so low he was basically useless. Numerous times Frost Alien slaps me and puts me down to one shot, where all of this could have been for nothing. We basically end up 1v1ing him for the last 5,000 health, but we come out on top.
Let's go! Let's fucking go! With the whole team dead, basically. Oh.
Next, I grind up resources to attempt to fight Victor and Shadowbeak next. Where on the first attempt we were so far behind from pals being AFK and basically not attacking, I started to play aggressive and was flattened just like my pals in a Frost Alien fight. I go back to get my stuff and regroup. So I then had a problem where the footage from multiple in-game days had corrupted unexpectedly. It wasn't until after the end of the recording session I basically didn't realize that it was corrupted and didn't keep the footage on there. And it was a little frustrating at the end because that fight took forever and was more frustrating than the Frost Alien fight. But I wanted to put it into the video, but the video was already way too long. So after defeating the dragon that I wish we could have showed, we decided to take on Lily Noct, which went very smoothly compared to the dragon. I realized to beat Shadowbeak, maybe I really should be at level 50 like recommended. Grinded to try to get to level 50 as fast as possible and help my pals get to level 50 as well. So I figured to level up, fighting Necromus and Palladius might help. On the first try, I was switching pals, and they comboed me and absolutely destroyed me. So I went back to get my stuff and waited to fight them again. So with how little damage I did to Shadowbeak, I wondered if there was anything I could do. I had somewhat upgraded my pals with souls, but not all the way. And I just tried to play effectively. I had never built the kitchen grill, so I had no idea that there was two dishes, the mozzarella cheeseburger and the ectodeer stew, that apparently making the cheeseburger makes your attack go up by 20% and the stew makes your defense go up by 20%. So I started farming to make those and more supplies. I went around slaughtering every ectodeer and mozzarella I could find. After fighting Blazamut, we get a legendary assault rifle schematic, so we start prepping to make that. Which, yet again, requires a assload full of polymer, and it's gonna cost millions of Relaxosaurus' lives. The Toko Toko implosion unit had heard of my recent failures and sent more scouts to figure out what I was up to next. For some reason, I had my only close fight with Ice King P.E.K.K.A ever. As I finally hit level 50, ironically off of getting my first Kelpsie of the challenge, I get back into grind mode. My goal now is to get my pals as close to level 50 as possible and stack up on the mozzarella cheeseburgers and the Ectodeer stew for stat boosts, while also grabbing as many souls as possible to max out the pal stats. The legendary assault rifle is finally assembled and took the most time out of anything to build in the game so far by a mile. In addition, for XP, I farm alphas to try to get an upgraded rocket launcher as well as to boost my damage output. I tried Shadowbeak again and had a very inefficient run. And I also learned that I need to command my pals to be aggressive so they attack right away instead of waiting for me to do something, as that wasted a lot of time and a lot of missed damage by my pals. So I grinded back up my wasted ammo and decided to fight Palladius and Necromus again. My plan this time was try to target Palladius since it's a normal type and try to kill it faster with the dark attacks that all my pals have. I attempted to split the two up, so my pal fights one and I fight one while occasionally getting 2-for-1 shots with the rocket launcher. I also utilized freezing moves with Shadowbeak and ice grenades to try to slow them down and separate them more. I love that the legendary assault rifle has an extended mag, it's fantastic. The rocket launcher was crucial in this, especially because it stuns on both, so it gets some free hits in for my pal. I could not believe that I'd gotten so far just to get screwed over by the game making me pick up rocks in my inventory and getting me stuck in place. So we went back for try 3 and I kept my same strategy. Now, in the heat of the battle, I didn't realize Necromus getting launched up and somehow killed, but I had fought them so much just for frustrating ways to die that I thought I deserved a little luck on my side for once in this challenge. After that, I continue the same way I was fighting and pick off Palladius. Finally, it was time to fight Victor and Shadowbeak for hopefully the last time. I remembered to finally use my mozzarella cheeseburgers and my Ectodeer stew. I tried to keep a pace at 20k damage per minute, as I felt like keeping that pace would help me stay on track. No matter what, it was going to be a close battle when it came down to the damage, but I was just trying to get as much damage output as fast as possible as I could.
I really underestimated how much the stew and the cheeseburgers would help, especially adding 20% attack and defense to every pal and myself was a huge help with getting this damage whittled down for Shadowbeak. There was a super close call where I was worried that Shadowbeak might one-shot me, but Lylene was a savior. At some points, I just had to eat the damage to get the rockets off. Yormantide is the first to drop, which makes me super nervous as his damage output is one of the best. For a while, Astragon helps me put in a lot of damage, which helps narrowly make it down. Astragon ends up being a huge help to whittle down Shadowbeak.
With just over half a minute to go, we finally take out Shadowbeak and Victor. Astagon ends up being huge in the effort towards the end, especially after losing Shadowbeak and Yormintide. Just the absolute relief of finally being done with Victor and Shadowbeak, Jatragan, Frost Alien, Necromus and Pladius, that were all fights that I'd never done before this challenge. All these fights challenged me to kind of work to be the most efficient player I could be, not wasting time, literally as it comes down to the second with some of these boss fights. But as you see on the map, all the boss fights are done. We end up running into a little thing where I realized I forgot to breed Cremis. So Cremis technically ends up being the last pal we get, but when the footage went down, we had a couple pals that we had caught that didn't register in the footage because we didn't have it recorded. But in the end, we ended up having every single pal caught. Here's the evidence. None of them using spheres. Got through all the boss fights and all the alpha fights. That going from every pal from the beginning till the end. That can be caught without a sphere. Just caught. The only exceptions, Dragon, Stallion, Necromus, Palladius.